This is the fuel tank for the winter motorcycle project, Suzuki Hayabusa, that has got a few issues. On the outside it looks alright and it's solid. However, the injectors have got this very fine brown dust in them that blocks them up and causes the fuse to blow in the injector electric system, which is a problem. And then also there was a weep coming from underneath the petrol tank. You just notice about once every 3 days, just a slight bit of a weep, nothing to what you think, has it splashed up? Just a slight weep. So hey, there's something going on here. And if you look inside there, you'll start seeing rust. But it doesn't look too much. You think, well, there's nothing wrong with that, that's just a bit of rust. But after having a conversation with Warhorse and his experience, this is going to lead to more problems. Once you start stuff going into your fuel system, it's never ending. So I'll turn this tank over now and we'll have a look inside. So this is the underside of the tank. It doesn't look too rusty. It's a bit scratched because it's been worked on. The whole bike's been modified, so it's had bodywork added onto it. There's no obvious rust. However, when you put your finger in there, it comes out all the way up. There's rust in there. So what I've done is I've run a grinder with a very, very thin 1mm blade all the way around, so we can open it up and have a look. So let's have a look inside. There we go. Oh, bloody hell. Oh my god. Yeah, that's rust. So we can see, yeah, we've got some loose powdered rust there. And there's rust all over. And there's rust here. This is where the fuel tap goes. That is just a mass of rust. That's the return from the high pressure fuel pump to the injectors. It's an external fuel pump in its own casing. So the fuel goes out here and then returns through here. And it's, oh my god, that is in a pretty bad way. Yeah. Now an interesting thing to notice, this bike, it was standing for about 2.5 years and the fuel went off. And when I drained the tank, it smelled horrible. It was brown, there was lots of bits in it. And there's this interesting thing happening here. You can see it was half a tank of fuel, so you can see halfway up the tank. Now this tank's upside down. So that bit was in the petrol, the going off petrol, and you can see there's just this horrible stuff, this brown slime everywhere. And because the bike was on its side stand, it's leaning at an angle. So we've got this heavy rust line here, this heavy rust line. Now petrol floats on water, so you can understand why there's rust low down. But how can we get this rust line here, of heavy rust? And if you look at the other side of the tank here, you can see the same thing. A heavy rust line. So the tank's upside down, so the fuel was here, going off, leaving its deposits. Look at this. These are the deposits that it was leaving. Bloody horrible stuff. Get in there. It's just layer upon layer of just horrible crap. I'm producing this heavy rust line. You can see there, that heavy rust line. So it's like a mine rust here, but then where the fuel level was, above in the air, this is where the air is, just where the fuel touches the tank, this rust, heavy rust. Oh my god. So that's scrapped. Yep, my god. I never thought it'd be that much rust in there. It's pretty bad. And I would talk to an English biker, another English biker, who had a problem when he filled his tank up full with fuel. He'd get a line on the outside of his tank which would just weep. It wouldn't leak if it was half full, well, it wouldn't leak if it was third full, but as soon as it got over half full, you'd get this line of weeping. So this is what happens. This weird heavy rust line appears in your tank when you've left it standing and your petrol goes off. Interesting. Is it condensation that somehow sits on top of the petrol or what? Interesting stuff. Anyway, I've got another tank, so we'll go and have a look at that. So this is a replacement tank. It's actually the original from the Hayabusa. It's done about 10,000 miles and been stored in a loft where it's dry. And I've had a good look round it and look inside with a mirror, and there's no rust, which is good. And you can see, hey up dog, how we doing? You alright? So you can see in there, no rust, which is nice. So the gist of this is, if you start getting fuel problems and you see weeping petrol or rust in your filler cap, even if your tank looks okay, you could be heading for problems. And I don't think it's worth trying any of them coatings or linings or sending it away, because if you've seen from before, it's a mess in there. It can look okay from the outside and you can just see bits of rust in the filler cap, unlike this one, which is very, very clean. Inside of any knackered tank, it's going to be a mess. So best thing is start looking for a replacement tank. So we're going to have a cup of coffee and start putting all the fittings on this one. Yeah, it looks nice, that. Bye for now.